What is going on, football fans? Back at it with another New York Giants video. And in this video, we're going to do a little bit of a viewer request. And before I get started on the video, just want to let everybody know, especially during the offseason, when there's a lot of different topics that I could talk about, it helps the channel, and I like to make things that you guys enjoy watching. So any suggestions on what you'd like to see in terms of a topic or just overall content on the channel, please drop it in the comments below. But I've been asked this by several people, and today I was asked by Vade. Now, in case you guys aren't aware, ESPN Plus made a topic on players that they could see teams around the league potentially trading. And in that topic, they talked about the possibility of the New York Giants trading Kadarius Toney. It was just speculation on their part. I'm not going to just talk about Kadarius Toney in this video. I'm going to talk about players that I could potentially see the New York Giants trading this offseason. Toney, I suppose, being one of them, even though I'll give my full opinion throughout this video on why I do not see that happening, nor it being a good idea. The one thing I will say is we don't have any idea of what Joe Schoen feels about the prospects on this team. Kadarius Toney included in that. He did not draft Kadarius Toney, so I suppose anything is possible, but I don't think it would be in the best interest of the New York Giants football team. But first, let's get into what Vade had to say. Hey, Chris, off topic for this tweet, I know, but I'm itching to know what you think about this crazy Kadarius Toney trade talk, and I'll talk about it in this video. Thank you for the suggestion, Vade, and several of you other guys that posed the topic for me, both on Twitter and on YouTube. First, let me say this, and just so you know I'm not phony, I was a big fan of Kadarius Toney leading up into the draft. I have a Discord in case you guys don't know, and these are just some old tweets, old messages that I had in the Discord leading up into the draft. If you look on that brown highlighted, I had Kadarius Toney going to the Jets, I think 3 picks after we had when the New York Giants traded down to the Bears. I also talked about in my Discord the night before the draft. I could easily see Toney, if he's put in the right spot, being the best receiver in this draft. Toney is great at separation, even though that's probably a little bit far-fetched. Jamar Chase is incredible. But regardless, I was a big fan of Kadarius Toney going all the way back to right around, actually a month earlier than we are now, on January 2nd. Yeah, I like this Toney guy. So I did my research on Toney. I was a big fan of Toney. Here's the issues with Kadarius Toney and why I could see some New York Giants fans being a little bit scared about the future of him as a prospect with this football team. The one thing that I was not in love with Toney, first off, before I even get into the injury problems, is I didn't think he fit the Garrett scheme well at all. I always thought, I envisioned him, especially in that message that I said on my Discord, if he got put with the Saints with Sean Payton on the turf, I could see him doing dynamic things. Now, the good news is we have a more innovative play caller now, and I think the one guy on this offense at the skill position that is set to benefit the most, if he could stay on the field, is Kadarius Toney. I'm not saying that they could utilize him exactly like Deebo Samuel is with the 49ers, because Samuel has 20 pounds of muscle on him, but I could see them getting very creative with a guy like Toney. Toney has elite separation skills. He's very elusive in the open field, and we saw it in that Cowboys game, the upside that he potentially could possess. Now, for people that started to compare him to Odell Beckham from that performance, I thought they were crazy, and at the end of the day, as Giants fans, we got to be fair and unbiased, and we can't just, start to talk about that he's going to be the next Odell Beckham. At the end of the day, he had 400 yards receiving and has shown that he has injury troubles. He had injury problems while at Florida as well. He couldn't stay on the football field, and it's eerily similar to another player that went to Florida that a lot of people compared him to coming out of the draft, that being Percy Harvin. So that's my main concern with Kadarius Toney, is the injury troubles. In terms of his upside as a player, I think he could be really, really, really good in the NFL. I always liked him when I looked into him coming out of college. I had him in my last mock draft when I had the New York Giants trading down as well. So I was happy when the Giants got him, even though it wasn't my ideal choice at 20 overall. This is what ESPN had to say about Kadarius Toney, and then I'll get into all the players that I could realistically see the New York Giants trading. They also brought up Saquon Barkley. Kadarius Toney, he's cheap, entering the second year of a rookie deal. I think he's due to make $3 million this year, then it'll go up progressively over the next 2 years. And incredibly talented, but new general manager Joe Schoen didn't draft him. Dave Gettleman did. So assessing his value doesn't hurt anything. He's either going to be the best receiver in the league, or it completely won't work out, and I'm not sure there's much in between, said an NFC coach. He's electric with the ball, but there are still some concerns about focus and availability. The availability goes back to the injury concerns. Listen, Jeremy Fowler didn't say anything in here where he said he expects the New York Giants to trade him. He said that he thinks that they should at least assess his market. Which, honestly speaking, and of course you assess every player's market, but what would the New York Giants get for Toney? I don't think you're getting a first-round pick based off the year he had last year. He had 400 yards. He missed a lot of time. To me, Toney's here. He's here long-term, at least for the next 2 or 3 years. He's young. He's on a rookie salary, and we know that this offense needs playmakers. That's going to turn us to the next guy. But to me, if you're a Giants fan, I wouldn't be too worried about the Giants potentially trading Kadarius Toney. That's not to say that we may not trade other players in this offseason. One other player that Fowler mentioned was actually Saquon Barkley, and some Giants fans may hate hearing that. He's a lot more realistic to me, but as I've said all along, I don't expect the New York Giants to trade Saquon Barkley before the year starts. That doesn't mean that they won't trade Saquon Barkley from within season if he's doing very well. Here's what Fowler had to say. It might be time. It's been 4 years. Barkley has high-quality traits, but the Giants need to exhaust all options for their rebuild. Enough teams are still enamored by his skill set that they could be interested in a potential deal. Many still view Barkley as a top-shelf tailback when healthy. He's due $7.2 million on a fifth-year option, and doing a long-term deal in New York for the 2023 free agent just doesn't make sense for either side. Barkley is San Francisco's offense would be fun, and Tampa Bay could have an opening if free agent Leonard Williams signs elsewhere. Another team that you could talk about that many have said that is a possibility would be the Buffalo Bills. Now, my thought process on Barkley is right now, his market is just at an all-time low. I don't see the value in trading him before the year starts. My thought process would be rebuffing this offensive line, and if he starts to show, hints at his old form from his rookie year, that is when you look to trade him, when the value is significantly higher than it is now. And potentially a team like the Buffalo Bills, who may be competing to try to win a Super Bowl, may view a guy like Barkley as a piece that could put them over the top. And if you get a second-round pick, it would be a late second-round pick, but regardless, you get a second-round pick for a guy that you know is not going to be in the long-term plans of this football team, if that is what the New York Giants view Saquon Barkley as, you go out and you get that pick. I just don't think right now, with the injury concerns with Barkley and the lack of production over the last 2 years, for a guy that's in the last year of his rookie contract, regardless of how potentially talented Barkley may be, you're going to get much for him on the trade market. So I think he's a guy that you probably wait, see how he does from within season. If he's starting to play really well, that's when you start to test the market for Saquon Barkley. But I wouldn't want to look desperate if I was Joe Schoen and the New York Giants. There's 2 other names I could potentially see the New York Giants looking to trade. And again, these are just rumors. They're not super likely. The first guy we're going to talk about is Darius Slayton. And a lot of people may say, well, why would anybody want Darius Slayton? Darius Slayton is still young, and he's still very cheap. Also, he would save the New York Giants $2.5 million if they were to move on from him. They could potentially cut him. Again, no ties. He's in the last year of his rookie contract, and after this, he's going to be a free agent. I doubt the New York Giants are going to extend him, but is Slayton a guy that some teams around the league that may need a wide receiver may look at and say, yeah, I'm willing to give up a 4th-round pick for a player like that, in which I only have to pay $2 million with upside? I could see it being a possibility. We've heard rumors this past season that the New Orleans Saints were potentially interested in Darius Slayton, and after all, he looked good in his rookie season. He does have a good rapport with Daniel Jones, but I doubt that Darius Slayton will be in the long-term interest of this New York Giants football team. So he is a guy that I view as a possibility that the New York Giants could trade and try to replace in the draft, say in the 4th or 5th round, maybe even the 2nd or 3rd round, where you draft a wide receiver. So Slayton to me is a possibility if you could get, say, a 4th-round pick for him. The other guy that I think is an obvious name, and you wouldn't get much for him due to his contract, would be James Bradberry. He's a guy that I've talked about that they could potentially cut to try to save $12 million on their budget, but there may be a team looking for a top 15 to 20 cornerback in the NFL, even though he's due to make $22 million, if they have the room in the budget for a 1-year sample size, and maybe they look to extend them. If you could get, say, a 4th or 5th round pick, maybe it happens in season, maybe it's something like the New York Giants did with Snacks Harrison, and maybe they retain Bradberry just for that, and maybe they could get something for him. The other option is you could keep Bradberry throughout the year and get compensated for him. Maybe you get a 4th or 5th round comp pick, depending on the contract that he gets at the end of the year. But to me, the more realistic players that you could see moved by the New York Giants, whether it be before the year starts or from within season, would be a guy like I talked about, Darius Slayton, because he doesn't make a lot of money. He's still young and does hold some value. Would be a guy like Saquon Barkley. I think that would be more in season. However, we'll have to wait and see how it all plays out. As far as Kadarius Toney goes, I don't expect to see Kadarius Toney move anytime soon. I think Toney fits this scheme well, and I think if he could stay on the field is the player in this offense that is set to benefit the most in 2022. How much will he benefit? Well, that remains to be seen. But I like Toney's versatility. I do think he's a big play threat. And I do think with Brian Daboll now influencing this offense, he could see a huge jump in his sophomore season. So don't expect Toney to be traded. More than likely, don't expect Saquon Barkley to be traded at least before the year starts. Maybe you could see a guy like Bradberry or potentially Darius Slayton move before the year. At least that's my opinion on the topic. Any suggestions you guys have in terms of hypothetical videos, things like this, please drop them in the comments below. If it's a good idea, I'd love to make a video on it. As always, if you like what you watch, please subscribe. Drop a comment. Maybe give me a little thumbs up. Cheers.